Hi, Cancer Sun and Rising. Welcome to your February 2025 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So I'm just going to get right into it. There's not as many transits as there have been in recent months, but there is the beginning of the eclipse season, even though it officially takes place in March. The reverberations, if you will, could be felt in February. But I'm not going to cover the eclipses until the actual dates in March for the March report. So stay tuned to that because I tend to do these astro updates, by the middle of each month. So even in February, I'll be covering them, and it could be very important for people to be listening in February for February in some cases. So on the 4th of the month, Jupiter turns direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. So for Cancer individuals, this is your 12th house. Of course, this is a general report. Case in point, what if your rising sign is 14 degrees of Gemini? I mean, that was a bad example. See, that's why I don't do these things. Because I get confused. What if your rising sign is 5 degrees of Gemini? 11 degrees is going to be in your first house. So I'm going to focus on the 12th house because you're going to have these transits go into your first house too. It's just a matter of time. You're going to have Jupiter go into Cancer in 2025, and then it will eventually be in your first house, depending on what your degree of sun or rising of Cancer is. So Jupiter going direct in the 12th house can be something where you did a lot of soul searching. Actually, Jupiter has a connection with the 12th house because Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, which rules the 12th house in astrology. So Jupiter rules the 9th house in the sign of Sagittarius. So a lot of the 9th house themes you can also apply to the 12th house. The big one that we normally think of is spirituality. The 12th house is more of the mystical side. It's cosmic. It deals with supernatural stuff. The 9th house is more like the organized religions and the dogma that's associated with that. So the 12th house is more open-ended and it can deal with past lifetimes. But so basically what I wanted to say about that is when, Jupiter can be our philosophy of life. It can be our like guidance system in terms of what is morally correct. And the 12th house can be the house of self-undoing. So sometimes people, when they stop with an addiction, they do so for moral reasons. And I don't really like the word morality because the connotation is with kind of like shaming people into these do's and don'ts. I'm talking more about based on your spiritual evolution, that you suddenly see certain things as injurious to self or others. So an addiction, rather than saying, "Oh, that is so like bad to have an addiction," would say, this is self-destructive, and this is also destructive to members of my family, my children, I don't want to hurt other people, and I don't want to hurt myself. So these are the kind of things that you may have been thinking about in one way or the other. Also, the 12th house can be hidden enemies, and Jupiter transiting the 12th can be like your guardian angel that is protecting you even in the 11th hour from all kinds of demons that can come in the form of other people who are like frenemies. People are pretending to be on your side, but they're not. And maybe you have had a lapse in some of these things where you were feeling like you were the target of other people. And so this is going to give you your protection back. And just in general, I mean, Jupiter can be money, and the 12th house can be kind of like, getting those karmic goodies, the karma fairy visiting you in a positive way, and maybe even money coming out of it, which is always nice. Um, so, and also just in general for your spiritual practices and stuff like that, because you are, when Jupiter's going to be here for another 6 months or so. So you're going to have to, so you're going to have it there for quite a while. And you can be lucky in matters of spirituality. So studying things, you can really expand yourself that way. On the same day, Venus goes into Aries, which is your 10th house of career. So that's very interesting because these two things could even be related, especially if you have been toying with the idea of becoming a healer of some sort or a teacher, but it would be more of a spiritual teacher in the 12th house. Venus in the 10th house can give you some kind of um, favor with people in positions of authority where they want to help you get ahead. Also, this can be getting a raise, getting a bonus, something with your career where you're getting money attached to it. You may be popular with the public at this time. On the 12th, there's a full moon at 24 degrees of Leo. That's your second house of earned income. So there's another proof that you could get some kind of a bonus or a financial boost in your house of earned income. You may be changing some kind of, maybe you're ending a source of a way you earn money. But that doesn't mean that you won't still be bringing in money. For instance, if a person quits their day job, but they have started a business that is starting to turn a profit, there's an ending, but there's also a replacement. Or you're retiring, but you're getting money every month from retirement funds. On the 14th, Mercury goes into Pisces, so that's a fellow water sign, and that's coming from the 9th house. And this is what I'm talking about because I mentioned the connection between, Jupiter and the 12th house. Well, this is the house that Jupiter rules in astrology, the 9th house. Mercury going in there, you could be studying something of a spiritual nature. I would say it would be especially systematic. I'm doing this myself with a home studies, like spiritual studies. And just because it's systematic doesn't mean that there's no room for your own, um, mysticism to emerge. Because if meditation is a part of that, that's something that, is going to be supernatural. You may be planning for a trip and getting your paperwork in order, getting your passport. On the 18th, Sun goes into Pisces, so the Sun goes into this very expansive house, the 9th house, Sagittarius's house. So you may be really, this is also the house of higher learning. So it could be like academia. Mercury here, the Sun here, you might be planning to enroll in college or go back to college or teach at a college. Whatever, something connected to that as well, that is a possibility. On the 23rd or 24th, depending on where you live, Mars goes direct in your sign at 17 degrees of Cancer. And so once again, if your rising sign is 18 degrees of Cancer, this will be in your 12th house. If your rising sign is 7 degrees of Cancer, this will be in your first house. So, it's very interesting how these things can play out. But looking at it from the perspective of it being in your sign in the first house, this can really give you um, a boost of energy for sure, because when Mars is in the first house and it's direct, it really compels a person to want to move their body, because the first house can be your body. And Mars is very active. And when it goes retrograde, something may be preventing the person from being able to move as much. It might be an injury, it might be um, some other kind of physical condition that prevents them. Or there might, whatever, there might be some reason why you haven't been able to. I was going to say exercise, but I'm not even just talking about exercising, although that could be for you specifically. I'm talking about being as active. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and the cardinal signs tend to be very active. And even if they don't go to a gym, they tend to have a lot of balls in the air, a lot of projects. They tend to be doers. And so they don't necessarily like to sit around all day. They really like to do things, and that keeps them in motion. But maybe you were sidelined for some reason. And just in general, when people are experiencing a Mars retrograde, regardless of sign, I think that fatigue is going to be a part of it. Because I just know I've been like sleep, and it's for me it's been, and I'm not a Cancer rising or anything like that, or a Sun in Cancer, but just this, really sleeping a lot more, which was really important for me, but it just feels like excessive almost. But the thing is that when Mars is retrograding, we don't we feel like our energy is sapped. Now I'm recording this in mid January, so we still, as I record this, we still have like 5 weeks to go. So if you're listening before this happens, especially if you're a Cancer Sun or Rising, be aware that you are likely going to get a new, like a second wind when Mars goes direct in your sign. And you're also going to just feel a sense of momentum and going forward. Maybe you felt like you've been in a holding pattern. So I think this is a really significant transit for you guys. And then on the 27th, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Pisces, again in that ninth house. And, this is a very important area for you because the North Node has recently gone into this area. So this is really emphasizing expansion and including geographical expansion. So for some of you, Cancer rules the fourth house of home and family, as a lot of you know. And so it is a very um, clannish, meaning very close, family oriented, and very like inner circle oriented, not necessarily wanting a lot of new friendships, contacts, really liking the tried and true people in your life, but also like it's very patriotic, it's very associated with your homeland. And the ninth house can be foreign lands. And when the North Node is entering a particular house, it can be destiny at this particular juncture. It doesn't mean, destiny is not like set in stone for ever and ever. It just means like a turning point in one's life in a particular area. And then maybe down the line, it's like maybe some Cancer people in the next year or so are going to move to another country, and that is really such a change of pace for them. Maybe they're very attached to their homeland, but they have a wonderful opportunity, or they're in love with somebody from another country, so they move there. And that doesn't mean that they're never going to move back. It just means that for this time in life, that's what they feel called to do. So just keep that in mind. But any kind of expansion, including spiritual expansion. You may be studying something spiritually that is really going to make a big difference and change your life. So, yeah, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I'm promoting my double readings called my deep dive readings because they are discounted in price because you're buying two readings as a package. The first reading is the natal chart interpretation, which is at least an hour in, analyzing your natal chart. And then the second reading is the transits for 2025. Now I'm going a little bit into 2026 because we're already into January. And that's at least an hour as well. So it's for a special price because those readings are sold separately and they, cost a lot more if you buy them separately. And then I have, career readings. I have all kinds of readings. So you can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.